Hello, and welcome to
Papi, your favorite movies.
My name is Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
On our podcast, we'll review and critique my favorite PG-13 movies.
Movies that I wasn't allowed to watch until I turned 13.
Every other week, Natalie and I will watch a new PG-13 movie.
And I'll see if Papi's movies live up to the hype.
Which, of course, they will.
Today we're going to be watching The Benchwarmers.
Before we begin, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and don't want it to be spoiled,
Press pause and come back when you're finished. Now, Papi, tell me the deets on this movie.
Okay. Hey, Nat, how you doing?
My tummy hurts.
What happened last time? Your tummy hurts, your head hurts, you're cold. Every time you record, it's just a disaster in a wreck. But you'll be better soon, because talking about this movie will cheer you up. Benchwarmers came out in 2006 with a runtime of 1 hour and 25 minutes. It was short. It's streaming on Max. It was written by Alan Covert and Nick Swardston and directed by Dennis Dugan. Main stars are David Spade, Jon Heder, and Rob Schneider. Fun facts: two of my childhood fantasy cars are in this movie. Kit from Knight Rider and the 1966 Batmobile. So what do you think of the movie, Nat?
I don't like it. It was genuinely gross.
Genuinely gross. You don't like it at all?
No, like even halfway through the movie, I was getting so grossed out that I was going to ask you, can we stop it and come back? Because I genuinely felt like nauseated watching it. Like not even like it was so like, oh, it was so like, no, they were just doing stuff that grossed me out so much.
Too much gross humor.
And also it felt like a children's movie, but with the wrong type of humor. And I don't think it made any sense.
I could see that. It should be more of a PG movie as opposed to PG-13.
Yeah.
The theme with PG, the language and the behavior with PG-13.
Yeah, and I don't think it really made sense.
Okay. So what do you rate it?
2.5 stars.
Still a 2.5 stars? That's not too bad. Because you did laugh a lot. There's a couple scenes there.
I might want to change my rating.
No, that's
I give it a 2 stars.
Just put it into the computer. It's settled there forever.
I adjust it. 2 stars.
It goes into the data banks. The data banks are set.
No.
2 stars.
Look, here goes the data banks.
All right, so 2 stars and a half.
No.
All right.
Why don't we get into the recap?
Okay. The movie begins with Gus coming home from his landscaping job. Talks to Clark, his newspaper delivery boy. At a nearby field, Nelson and his 2 friends are playing baseball. Then a Little League team comes on the field and starts bullying them. Troy, their leader, even gets physical and farts on Nelson's face.
This is my question.
Okay.
My biggest question of life. How can people just fart at will? Like, I have to have... Actually, I don't really have to. It just comes. You can't just... It's not planned. You can't just fart when you want to. The same thing with verbs. How can anyone just verb on command?
People can do that. They can like breathe in air and then burp. Abuelita used to be able to do that. She could burp whenever she wanted to.
No.
As for farts, I have no idea.
I wish I could burp whenever I wanted, because I feel like it would prevent me from throwing up a lot.
Well, I think that's a whole different situation. I don't know if that's connected to your inability to burp or not. That's just you being aware. Gus stands up for Nelson and the bullies leave. Clark admits he was bullied when he was younger and has never played baseball. Gus, who was a star player in his youth, tells him to come to the field later that night so they can play together. Clark goes to the video store where his friend Richie works. Tells him to join him to play baseball with Gus.
It's Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt. And then Clark is Napoleon Dynamite. So that actor was the one who plays Napoleon Dynamite. It's a PG movie, so we haven't seen it for the pod. But it's hilarious. We should watch it just for fun.
Not if it makes you want to throw up.
I don't know. It's hilarious. And there's a lot of quotes in there that you will be saying afterwards because it's so funny. And Clark is pretty much the same character. Anyways, he goes to the video store to pick up Richie or Joe Dirt. Tells him to join him and play baseball with Gus. At home, Gus looks for his mitt, and Liz, his wife, tells him that he needs to be home early because she's ovulating and they want to get pregnant.
That's not how ovulation works. Fun fact.
What are you talking about?
Ovulation is like a week.
No, there are times.
I know, but like it's not just like a time because she's like, I'm ovulating at 6 o'clock. That's not how it works.
No, but it is a day. It's not a week.
Okay, well, you have your, it's like, what is it? Luteal? Something like that. I don't know. It's basically like the moon. That's how complicated this cycle is.
Okay.
And there's like ovulation, and there's like pre-menstruation, and then there's menstruation.
Okay.
It's like a whole time period.
Yes, I agree. So maybe not like 6 p.m. tonight.
I know. I think this is stupid.
No, he goes with the story. It's making a point. He doesn't seem to want to have a baby. Gus, Clark, and Richie get on the field. And which, by the way, this is Papi approved movies, not Papi approved reproductive cycle conversations.
I'm just saying it's wrong.
Gus, Clark, and Richie get on the field, and when Troy and his bullies team comes back out, they tell him they have the field reserved. Gus challenges them to play a game for the field. They agree, and the game is on. Richie and Clark are terrible, but Gus strikes everyone out and hits a home run every time he comes at bat. Gus, Clark, and Richie win. One thing that I desperately think is so dumb, that if Gus keeps hitting a home run, why do you keep pitching it to him? Just hit him with the ball. He gets on base, and then the other two are going to strike out. So, but they always pitch to him. I never understood it. They don't know baseball.
Why don't you just always get hit by the ball if you're a bad person at baseball?
Yeah, but they have to hit you with the ball. You can't go. You have to stand in a box, and if the ball hits you, you have to be. They have to throw it in the box.
Move your shoulder.
Inside where?
The box.
No, you're stuck in a box. You're in the batter's box. The plate is in front of you. The pitch is supposed to go into the plate.
Then move your head into the plate.
It's illegal. You can't do that. You can't just go into the plate.
Why not?
It's illegal. That's like interference. You get called out.
I don't think so. I think the latest method is to get hit by the ball.
Right, but you can't get hit on the... Like, you can't run... The ball's being flown and you're just diving your head into it. It's not working. You can't do that.
But why? Because it must.
Because it must. A nice little callback to Blast from the Past, just so you know. Episode...
I don't know what episode we're in now.
Oh, episode 50. Blast from the Past is episode 50. Three guys go to Pizza Hut after the game to celebrate their victory. At Pizza Hut, Richie meets Sarah and falls in love, but he has no game. Then Jerry, Troy's uncle, and the team coach comes in.
He has no riz.
He has no riz. There you go. I should put the proper terminology in here. He said,
Please don't.
His pickup line is, I like salad. He just said it twice. But she likes him. She thinks he's cool or something. Anyways, Troy's uncle, Jerry, comes in and he starts insulting everyone. And Gus stands up to him and shuts him down. Outside, Nelson and his dad, Mel, thank him for standing up to Jerry, who's a big bully. Gus gets home and Liz is mad he didn't come home on time for the exact second of the ovulation, which is obviously correct. We decided that. He apologizes, but he seems to not really want to have a child. Yeah, at this point you realize he didn't come home because he didn't want to. I think he doesn't want to have a baby. I think his whole thing is not to have a kid.
I don't even think that.
Later we find out that it is true and why.
No, I don't think so.
The next day, you obviously didn't pay attention. That's why you were so disgusted by this movie, because if you would have seen it, you would have found it as a gem.
It just seems like he doesn't care, but it doesn't seem like he's not doing it.
He says why later.
Okay, but we're not getting into spoilers.
Next day, Richie and Clark are buying mints at the sports store when Brad, a coach for another Little League team, starts picking on them. He challenges them to play against his team. They go and get Gus, and the game is on. The outcome is the same. Richie and Clark are terrible, and Gus wins the game for them. After the game, Mel and Nelson approach them and invite them for lunch. Mel's house is a mansion with lots of cool stuff. You know, the door to get in is Vader. Mm-hmm. And then in the credits, it's James Earl Jones, the guy who was the voice for Vader.
So he actually did the
he did
voice for this
movie. He did the voice for this movie. I mean, he was probably like, he called it in on his phone, right? Like, he probably made $1 million for just doing the voice for like 10 seconds. I don't know. It's pretty cool though, but it was his name in the credits. Mel tells him that he was a nerd when he was little and he was constantly bullied. But now he's a billionaire and wants to get back at those bullies. He actually said he was a zillionaire. Mel wants Gus, Richie, and Clark to create a team called the Benchwarmers to get back at all those bullies. He's going to finance a tournament, and the winner would get a brand new stadium built in their town. He gives them uniforms. The tournament begins, and Nelson joins the team as the bad boy. Game works out the same as the others. Gus does all the work. Clark is having problems holding the bat every time he swings, killing wildlife in the process.
Woo! I'm just kidding.
The Benchwarmers
Please
win.
don't come after me.
Yeah, PETA, please don't come after
joke.
Natalie.
I apologize.
They weren't real squirrels. Natalie is afraid. No, Natalie just hates squirrels.
No, I have a deep-rooted fear of squirrels and birds, both of which animals that
He killed.
Clark killed.
Yes.
Murdered brutally.
At home, Gus makes another excuse not to be with Liz for baby making. Then he, Richie, and Clark go to Mel's house for training. Mel invites Reggie. I say training because you're a soccer player, so we call it training.
Hold up, back this up. Oh no, he didn't make it to be with his wife. But I thought the ovulation has already passed.
No, it was delayed 3 days because of the full moon or something like that. That's what she said, right?
Oh, I see. Of course.
So all this is still accurate. Then he, Richie, and Clark go to Mel's house for training. Mel invites Reggie Jackson over, who was a childhood friend with Mel and was also bullied as a kid. He starts running drills with the boys like doorbell ditch, truly hot potato. They're using potatoes out of the oven, and destroying mailboxes. Reggie Jackson they called him Mr. October. He had like 3 home runs in one World Series game for the Yankees. He also played for the A's. He was
Why
an
October?
awesome player. The World Series was in October.
Oh, okay.
So like Mr. World Series. Kind of a cool nickname, right? Although now the way the season started, it actually ends in November. So maybe there's a Mr. November. But he was Mr. October. Pretty cool name. The next game is much closer. Reggie comes through in the clutch and gets a hit. They get home and scores when he drop kicks the catcher. That part made you laugh hard. You were cracking up. You're like, ah, ha, ha. You started crying.
What catcher?
Where he's running home and then he drop kicks the catcher. Like he does like a karate kick on the guy with the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, these are all 12-year-olds, right? This is obviously a man attacking a little child, but it's funny. And
I like it when they hurt the children.
Like when children get hurt. There's a scene where they hit the ball into the kid's chest and he falls over. And Nelson gives him, what do they call it? A beef stew? Farts in his face. Benchwarmers win.
Also, where did that kid come from?
Nelson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just waiting for his revenge.
How long has he been sitting in that bush, like in the corner?
Yeah. The Benchwarmers win. The team starts gathering a huge fan base of kids who've been bullied. Sarah even comes to the game with her nerdy little brother, Jared. The team goes to Mel's house and gets a fancy bus to go to their next game. Howie, Richie's brother, has agoraphobia and hates going outside, but he's on the bus to join the team. At game 3, the Benchwarmers have tons of fans. Clark gets his bat taped to his hands and gets a hit. They win the game, and they are an instant internet sensation. They were doing an internet podcast. That was kind of funny. Like, what is an internet podcast? And it was like a video podcast.
Uh-huh.
This is back then. This is brand new podcast, you know? So they were throwing that in there.
That's just like a YouTube video, though.
Yeah, I don't know if YouTube. I mean, YouTube must have been around during this movie. What time the movie came out? I said.
Didn't YouTube come out in the early 2000s?
I think so. I don't know when YouTube came out, but this movie came out in 2006. So they must have had it. The Benchwarmers' next game is in Brookdale, where Gus is from. Gus is very uneasy about being there. Richie and Clark are contributing more and getting hits. The Benchwarmers win, and Gus wants to leave immediately. In the semifinals, the Benchwarmers are going to play Wayne's team. Jerry gets him a ringer named Carlos. Carlos is a grown Dominican man. They ask for his birth certificate. It is a picture of him with a number 12 on it. That was the best birth certificate I've ever seen. It's just like written in crayon, right? The 12. Wayne chooses not to play Carlos. He's like, I'm not going to play him. This is actually was a story. Around this time, there was a kid named Danny Almonte. He was in the Little League World Series. He was playing for, I can't remember what team. He was amazing. Striking everybody out. And this kid looked huge, right? And they found out that he forged his birth certificate. He was 14 years old. And they can't be over 12 or something like that. Oh. So it was kind of like similar. But this guy was like a grown man.
With a child. That could have played.
That's right. He's a child too. The kid comes out of the bushes. Everybody's in the bushes in this movie. As the game progresses, the Benchwarmers start kicking butt. Wayne changes his mind and puts Carlos in. He's a stud. He strikes everyone out and hits bombs. The guys start to give Carlos tons of alcohol to get him drunk, and it works. The Benchwarmers load the bases, but they need another batter to hit. They ask Howie. He comes up with his sword. How is that not funny? The guy came up with like a plastic sword to like be the bat. Nelson gives him a bat, and right before he tries to swing, he gets hit by the ball, driving in a run, and the Benchwarmers win. You think that's funny? Guy came up there with a bat.
He knows
with a sword.
He knows the method. Get hit by the ball.
He was just standing there and just started screaming, right? The team gets interviewed and all the bully coaches and their friend Steven are watching the show on TV. Steven talks about how Gus was his bully when he was a kid and how horrible he was. He even drove a little person classmate named Marcus to a mental institution. The coaches give Steven's story to a reporter who outs Gus for being the worst bully. The guys watch the news show, and Mel and Nelson are crushed. Gus feels terrible and apologizes. He goes home and admits to Liz this is the reason why he doesn't want to have a baby. He feels that his son is going to get bullied because he was the bully when he was little. Gus goes to Marcus, who's terrified of him. He apologizes to him and leaves him his baseball hat. The final game is played at the new ballpark, the Benchwarmers versus Jerry's team. Gus is not on the team, but comes to show his support. The fans have turned on him. Then Marcus comes out and tells everyone how Gus apologized and how he had accepted his apology. Gus thanks them and says everyone should be allowed to play baseball. Then the new Benchwarmers come out. It's Nelson and his nerdy friends. This is the one part of the movie where I was kind of like, this is so dumb. Why are these 3 adults playing these kids? Why is Nelson not on the team? Right? The beginning of the movie, Nelson wants to play with his 2 friends.
Yeah.
And then they're like, no, you can't play. Be the bat boy. And then finally in the last game, they're able to play. I just wish that they would have played more earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they could have had like a full team.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the whole point was that. And so I'm happy it did happen in the last part of the game, at least. Where the last game, at least, it was those kids who didn't know how to play, but were having fun. The game begins. The new look Benchwarmers are terrible, but they're having a blast. They show good sportsmanship, and the bully team is jealous of how much fun they're having. Jerry yells at his team, telling them he wants to get them a shutout. The bully team turns on him and makes sure that doesn't happen. They tell Nelson where to hit the ball, and everyone in the field makes errors so Nelson can score. When he does, the Benchwarmers storm the field and celebrate. I thought that was kind of cute, right?
Yeah.
Because the bully team, they kind of realize that why are they being so mean, and they kind of let him have one, right?
Plus, they already knew they were going to win.
They were up 42-0. Yeah. So, at least it was like a winning point, something that they could celebrate, even though they had a good time. After the game, the team goes to Pizza Hut to celebrate. Richie kisses Sarah, and Clark makes out with Hot Mother. Real quick, I looked it up on IMDb. That lady doesn't have a name. Her name in IMDb is Hot Mother.
Who?
Clark. He was just making out with a girl.
Oh.
Yeah. Then Liz tells everyone that she's pregnant, and everyone cheers. The end. I thought the movie was funny. Pretty silly and goofy and funny. I don't know.
The Sandlot's better.
Well, obviously. But The Sandlot's rated PG, and this is a PG-13 podcast. Natalie. All right, she stuck her tongue out at me, which makes great podcast. Thank you so much. Could this movie still be made today?
Probably not.
All right, what did you have problems with? There was a lot.
The whole thing is ableist, sexist. It's just kind of mean to everyone.
Homophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, go ahead and tell me instances that you saw how this happened.
They said a bunch of slurs in this movie.
Did they?
Uh-huh. Like the F slur and the R word and a bunch of those things.
Okay.
Especially in regards to the 3 guys. And also
Clark, especially Clark.
Yeah. And also, I don't remember his name. The
Okay.
guy that was in the
bully?
castle.
Oh, Marcus.
Everyone was really mean to Marcus.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't make fun of him, right? They had him with the really crazy looking glasses, and they had him like a castle in his house. Although that was all really cool stuff he had in his basement.
Yeah, but they tried to make him like this complete weirdo. And it's supposed to be like, oh, he was bullied his whole life. And now he's still being treated as like a weirdo in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, but not so much. I didn't notice it too bad.
It was kind of messed up.
Yeah. Well, there was a scene where the guy's like, I want one, right?
Yeah.
And then he ended up picking up like another little person and like was hugging him, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of ridiculous.
So there's a bunch of stuff. Also, I think they kind of made fun of agoraphobia a lot.
Yes. So agoraphobia is high anxiety, so much that it kind of cripples you.
Uh-huh.
Right? And it makes you not want to go outside sometimes, makes you want to avoid people. I mean, it's very difficult for people with agoraphobia. And how it was a joke the whole movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And he eats sunscreen, which doesn't make any sense. Why would he be doing that? But
exactly.
He does it more than once. And then it's kind of like teasing him. I agree with that. That was kind of messed up, especially with mental health issues. I don't think that would fly anymore.
I know. So I think all those things, like making fun of certain groups, like over and over again.
The message is good though, right? Like stand up to the bullies kind of thing.
But it's not really stand up to the bullies. It's just like don't be a bully, because it's not like the little guy wins in the end. They don't. They lose horribly. They don't get anything that they should have got. They don't really get redeemed or anything. It's just like Gus basically just going through a realization. I shouldn't have been so mean to everyone. And that's basically the story. There's not really a big message.
Yeah, and Gus already realized that before.
Yeah.
Because he was already kind to other people.
So it doesn't really like have that big of a deal.
That's why he was ashamed to go back home.
And it's also kind of a thing where it's like, if you're like a terrible person, you won't have any consequences.
Yeah.
Karma won't get you back.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of
You will be forgiven. Like these are like the things that end up happening.
Being forgiven is a good thing.
Yeah.
The whole point was like if you got bullied or you were a bully, everybody should have a second chance to like be okay.
I know, but it's saying like it doesn't matter whether you bully someone or not, because you're still going to end up with a pretty good life.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just think that the bullies realized that it's more important to have fun, and why are you like excluding people from stuff?
That's true.
They kind of did learn a little bit of a lesson. And Gus, he did kind of eat it, right? Like he didn't end up playing in the last game, got kicked off the team. Everybody hated him. And so I think he kind of realized it, even though I think he's already made people all tease Clark. They hated on Clark, everybody. Yeah. But he didn't do that. He was nice to Clark. He joked with him. He was his friend. He told him to come play baseball. He took him out to eat pizza. Like, you know, he was like the nice guy with him. The only thing that I didn't like is that it took another bully for them to win. You know? Like it would have been better if he wasn't the bully. I get the point, but it would have been better if he was a nerdy kid and then he got better because he grew up or something like that. Yeah. Like Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson said he got picked on and he was bullied when he was little. And then he's like one of the most famous baseball players of all time. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, there was a lot of that. A lot of homophobia too. Especially in these movies, they have like if you're not a tough guy, then you're gay or something like that. Yeah. And then that makes you bad. So, I mean, that happens all the time. And they did that to Richie. They said that to Howie. They said that to Clark. You know, all of them got it. All right. Does it pass the Bechdel test?
No.
No. All right. Let's talk about the Bechdel test. The Bechdel test is a test to check for female representation in movies. There are 3 criteria. Criteria number 1. Are there 2 or more named females?
There's 2.
Okay. Which ones? There
is Liz and there's Salad Girl, a.k.a. Sarah.
Yeah, her name is Sarah. In the IMDb, it said Salad Girl, Sarah. It said Salad Girl first, though. All right. Question number 2. Do they talk to each other?
No.
They never talk to each other?
No.
I guess it doesn't pass. It's better than the last movie that didn't even pass one of them. At least it passed one of them. Yeah, I don't think
that's not a very high standard.
No. I guess it's a baseball movie. They did have a little girl on the team. Nelson's friend.
But I don't know. I don't think she had a name.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
She was just like a little girl.
She was just his friend. All right. Anything else? Any of those notes in there? Anything you want to talk about? Any plot holes? Anything else you want to share before we end our podcast?
Oh, there's one note I have.
It's about Romeo and Juliet?
No.
By the way, you talked about how gross his movie made, and you didn't bring up any of those moments.
I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to throw up on the podcast.
Okay. That would be authentic, but go ahead.
There's a scene where they're like throwing the ball in. Richie is the catcher guy, and then Gus throws the ball, and then like he catches it with his unmit hand, and he just like catches it, and then he like screams because it hurt. And then they just gloss over the fact that he perfectly caught this ball one-handed without a glove. And they just go over that. And I'm like, get him in the World Series.
Because he's such a good catcher with one hand.
Yeah.
And he broke his hand in the process. I don't know. I thought it was funny. I think Richie is funny. That actor is funny. David Spade corrects me on. And like I said, Napoleon Dynamite, I think we're going to have to watch that because it's pretty funny. And Jon Hader's in it. Heder, I'm not sure. And he's hilarious, though. All right, anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you for tuning into Papi Approved Movies.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app, or like and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube.
Put on an episode every Monday.
If you want to see extra podcast content, follow our TikTok at Papi Approved Movies.
If you want to suggest a movie for us to watch and critique,
email us at papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com.
that's papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com. No spaces, no caps.
We'll try our best to get to your suggestion. And remember, it has to be PG-13.
Next week, Sophia will be back and we'll be watching Super Troopers.
And I'll be back in 2 weeks to watch Independence Day.
I'm Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
See you next time.
Bye.